Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thank you very much for joining the Boardroom Club today to our Unicorn conference featuring company worth over $100 billion. My name is Yossi Garmazi, second year MBA here at Cornell, and I'm joined here also by my classmates, Lukas. Ailey.
Hi there.
So today we are fortunate enough to interview none other than Asaf Peled, the founder and CEO of Minute Media. Asaf, thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me to join.
Yeah, definitely. So Asaf, the way we have been thinking about it is asking you a few questions about Minute Media, about your past experience even before, and then moving on to some questions that submitted in advance from the audience. Sounds good?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, definitely. So, Asaf, we want to start with your beginning, like your past experience at Evergreen Ventures and Cisco, and how it's exactly influenced your decision later in life to be an entrepreneur and contributed to your success.
Yeah, so for probably about 15 years, as you know, Yaron, I was spending time more, I would say, on the technology investing side of the table. So as an early stage venture capitalist, then with Evergreen in Tel Aviv, then I actually worked with Apex doing late stage investing in California, and then corp dev and M&A with Cisco when Cisco was very acquisitive a couple of decades ago. So as a technology investor for probably 15 years, I had the opportunity to work with so many technology entrepreneurs in early stage, in late stage, and at some point I realized that I had probably been an investor for too long, too early in my career, and it's about time to move to the other side of the table and take a little more risk, but give more, I would say, potential for my passion and dreams, and that's what led to the decision at that point.
Yeah, so concentrating a little bit more on Cisco. I mean, you joined Cisco corporate development team after completing your MBA at Wharton. So can you tell us a bit? I mean, you mentioned a little bit that Cisco was very acquisitive at that time. How it influenced your maybe decision in Minute Media? Because at the end, Minute Media is relatively young company, but very active in M&A market with acquisition like STN and Sport Illustrated, of course, and the Players Tribune as well. So how it influenced your decision-making process in buying all of those companies?
So I spent 4 years with Cisco's corp dev team. Again, back then, a couple of decades ago, Cisco was one of the top tech companies in the world, and definitely the most acquisitive one. And during my 4 years there, I had the opportunity to experience how a company can grow organically, but also inorganically. Kind of a decision-making process and a framework that we were implementing at Cisco, helping us to decide in what area we should build internally, how and when we should partner, where we should probably invest in companies, and in what areas we did not have the capacity to build from within, and we had to go outside and acquire. And I think that mentality that I've acquired there really helped me over the last 5 years at Minute Media, right? So we've been together as a company, Minute Media, for 12 years. The first 7 years, naturally, for a very young venture, we're growing organically. But over the last 5 years, you get to a point where you, in some cases, face the challenge and the opportunity to grow through acquisitions. There are also some areas where it's literally impossible to build from within once the business grows. And I would say that definitely the experience that I've gained doing corp dev with Cisco really helped me, and then helped the company at Minute Media to establish our own corp dev team, but also that mentality, that DNA that allows us to sometimes grow organically and other times use M&A as a very effective vehicle to grow. Am I looking at the camera, by the way? Because there are different... because of the video off, I'm a little confused here on your side. So just let me know if I should move myself.
Yeah, so maybe like touching a little bit about Minute Media and the founding phase. So obviously you're coming from Israel, a very techy place with many companies that founded there but more like a software one, yet you decided to build your company in the media and specifically in the sports. And well, Israel is not so good at sports, so I was just wondering what led you to open this kind of company specifically with your Israel roots.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very good question. I would say that when I was about to think of my kind of early stage venture, I was, I would say, considering multiple ideas. Many of them were a lot deeper in terms of the tech, but I'm a very, very big, I would say at least probably crazy sports fan. And so at the end of the day, I decided that, starting a venture is a very difficult journey with ups and downs. So at the very least, I may as well do it in a space that I'm really passionate about and enjoy the ride. So I would say that was literally the only rationale for starting a venture in the sports tech arena. You are right that back then I lived in Israel and there was no sports industry, no media industry, no advertising industry. It's literally our funding teams like extreme passion for sports and understanding that if we find ways to combine sports and sports content and technology, maybe over time, that's our only way as Israelis to work in that space. So that's how it all started.
Yeah, and how instrumental was your decision to build your company at the beginning in Israel to your later success as a Minute Media, as a big media player in the industry?
So I would say very big. But this is a very crowded space. I mean, sports content, sports media is a huge industry, but it's dominated by many incumbents, the likes of ESPN, NBC, Sky, BT, you name it. And we believe that our number one driver and differentiating factor over time is the use of technology and the entrepreneurial energy that I believe does exist in Israel. So if we had started a company elsewhere, as many others have tried in our space sector over the years, that differentiating driver and factor would not have been as powerful. And we believe that still today in our space, we're one of the largest worldwide, but definitely we're the most tech dominant company in our space. So we believe, yeah, the Israeli component has been very crucial.
And you mentioned all of the big players. I mean, I guess like when you founded the company, you knew that you're gonna compete with all the big ones like ESPN, NBS, CBS. I was just wondering, how do you approach the market specifically, and how Minute Media differentiate itself in terms of like the tech part?
Yeah, so again, we wanted to be that, we always call it next generation ESPN. I mean, that we wanted to be the place or the platform that allows for hundreds of millions of sports fans around the world to consume kind of next generation, innovative, fresh, what we call short form sports content. So any sports content digitally that's created and consumed before and after the game, right? We're not into game broadcasting. I mean, that's not a space we believe we should play in, but everything before and after that's short form and covers sports across video, audio, text, interactive, we believed a decade ago we should play in that space. And because it's a lot more innovative and futuristic by nature, again, as I said, we believe that we had to be a very global platform because sports is becoming more more global. We believe that we really had to use technology to differentiate in that space, and we have to find ways to remain very flexible, agile, and innovative. So I would say that it's not a certain product that we have built and others have not. It's probably a different DNA, a different mentality, a different state of mind that we have taken as a company in a very traditional space. And I think that mental approach is the one thing that it set us apart over the years and allows us to continue to change, grow, innovate, overcome, and expand over the years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you specifically also started Minute Media. Back then it was only 90 minutes. So when did you realize 90 minutes is ready to expand all over the world, and specifically to US, where soccer is not a big part of the sports here? So when did you realize the company is ready for the next phase of its evolution?
Yeah. So we started the business in 2012, and you're right, the first few years, we're focusing on soccer, or what some of you may call football. So that was under the name 90 Min. And for the first 4 or 5 years of the journey, we had two components. We had a tech platform in Tel Aviv, and we had the global 90 Min kind of content, I would say, framework and operation. When that was doing well back in 2016, we realized that to take the business and especially monetization and revenue generation to the next level, we had to expand into the US. We had to extend into US sports. And so it took us 4 to 5 years of gaining that experience, building the platform, and only then we extended into the US. First, we did it organically with our own content brands. Then we started acquiring some of the names that you mentioned early on. No doubt that entering the US has allowed us to take the business, the brand, the awareness around it to the next level, which has happened in 2017, 2018, 2019. So as you can tell, it takes time. It takes 5, 6, 7 years of grinding before you turn like a very early stage idea into something that's more meaningful.
Yeah, and you mentioned also all the acquisition that you made. So we were just also wondering what next for Minute Media. Is it to keep modernizing the sports media, or maybe like to go to another part of the sports, maybe esports or something of that sort?
Yeah, so I would say, yeah, we're going to what we want to be over time is just fairly simple. We want to be the global leader in next generation sports content, and to drive all that through our technology platform. Sports is going to continue to diversify itself, so no doubt that gaming and esports and all are areas we're going to look into. There are other sports domains that are even more traditional that we have yet to tap into. Say cricket and rugby, if we want to tap into the global markets, parts of Asia, for instance. We are also going to tap into new products and channels, connected TV, new social platforms, new technologies and products. So there are so many ways to innovate across new sports, but also across new digital experiences where next generation sports fans are going to consume and interact with sports content.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe last question for myself before we moving on to Ailey, which is like also great question. So we talked about like the sports media entertainment as a whole. So it started with, like newspaper, and then it moved on to ESPN, and ultimately maybe all of the reels in Facebook and the like of TikTok. So how do you see the sports media specifically sector evolve over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so I would say what we're seeing is as follows. More and more content is consumed over mobile, which is really, really key. When we started a decade ago, the consumption was on desktop or TV. As more is consumed over mobile, it does mean that the type of content, even the length of content, is going to turn shorter and shorter. That's why we call the company Minute Media. If you look at our kids, at least my boys, many of you are still young, you may not have kids at all, or kids who consume sports. Mine consume sports, and in many occasions they consume the highlights and not the game itself. I think it has huge impact on sports media. Okay, so short form, mobile first. Also, sports is becoming a lot more global. Look at soccer and what it's doing in the US. On the other end, look at NBA and NFL and how it's expanding globally. So if you're a global platform, you're better equipped than a local network to cover sports. So yeah, just you look at all that and where we are today, where we're going to be in a decade compared to a decade or two ago, the way sports content is created, distributed, monetized, consumed is changing rapidly. The one thing that's not changing, Yaron, is that sports continues to be the #1 global content category that continues to attract mass audiences, unlike any other content category out there. So the value of sports in so many ways continues to increase.
That's very interesting indeed. And thank you very much, Asaf, for answering all of my questions. Ailey, the floor is yours.
So thank you for being here. I guess I'd love to dive in a little bit more to Sports Illustrated, and I'd love to hear the story of how you found the opportunity and kind of what your vision was and how it's been going.
Yeah, so sure. So Sports Illustrated, we as you all know, Sports Illustrated better than I do, especially the Americans in the group here. We all grew on Sports Illustrated in so many ways. Sports Illustrated, unfortunately for them, for the brand, had to change ends and owners in multiple occasions over the last probably 20 years. And about 5 years ago, it became apparent that at some point there may be an opportunity for a new player to acquire the rights to operate Sports Illustrated, and so we were actually chasing it for about 5 years. And earlier, probably late last year, in late 2023, it became apparent that there was an opportunity to acquire the rights to operate the media, the digital, and the print side of Sports Illustrated. So we had prepared for that moment for a long time. We feel that if you put ESPN aside, Sports Illustrated is probably the most iconic and important sports content and media brand out there in so many ways, with so much legacy and tradition and history, but also a bright future, if only it gets into the right place and operated and scaled and managed the right way. It was a very, very competitive process, so we really had to compete with some of the incumbent competitors in that space and some private equity firms, but probably coming into that SI bidding process with a track record of M&A, of operating other content brands in our space, of scaling globally using technology and innovation, had put us in the right position to compete for the brand and eventually win the process. And so we closed the transaction in March this year, 2024. It's been a couple of quarters, very, very fascinating journey, nothing that I have seen before. And it's doing really well, but we believe it's only the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much more to come on the SI front. SI stands for Sports Illustrated, of course.
Amazing. And I guess as much as you're able to talk about, what has that process been of turning a largely print magazine into your platform and how that transition has been?
Yeah, so a lot has been written about kind of the print assets of SI because people know it, and if it's the swim magazine or there's the sports magazine. But admittedly, even when we acquired it, the digital side of Sports Illustrated has already been a lot bigger than the print in terms of revenue mix. And while we love the print assets, we believe that they are great for the brand. We believe that the future for SI is around digital and its ability to utilize our technology platform. And that's been the focus, right? So we're going to keep print because that we believe the assets are great for sports fans, for users, for advertisers. That said, over time, if you look at the top line, you look at EBITDA, you look at profitability, no doubt that going forward, digital is going to be our main focus. So from that standpoint, what we had to do is stabilize the print assets because they were actually not in the best shape when we acquired the business. We had to stabilize that part and then integrate SI Digital, which is a very significant operation, integrated into our technology platform, integrate a team into our culture, which is another significant task. And once we did that, we started seeing the digital side of things really growing over the last several months. And that's going to be the main focus going forward.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. And I guess because a lot of trends beyond sports media are changing, we see sports teams dramatically increasing in value and kind of the business changing of sports. How does that affect your business, or are there certain trends you see that you're paying attention to?
Yeah. So I would say there are many kind of details to that answer, but if you look at it at a very high level, we love the trends and they're positively affecting our business. You're right in that content in general over the last decade has really fragmented. We see it on TV, we see it in entertainment, we see it on Netflix, we see it in social media. It's physically impossible at this point to create content and reach mass market with it. There are so many options out there other than sports. There is a big NBA game, or there is a big soccer game, there is World Cup, Champions League, Super Bowl. billions of sports fans consume it, which is why the value of sports teams, sports players, sports rights continue to rise. And so if you are that global leader in covering sports content, by definition, over time, we believe that you can leverage the same trends and grow with them. And you do see more advertisers allocating more budgets into sports, more technologies deployed in sports, more fans around the world consume similar sports, which is why we believe, Haley, we have seen our business grow over the last 5 to 8 years.
That's amazing. Now I kind of want to bring it back to you towards the end. We do some fun questions, but before I jump into those, I'm curious, a lot of the people on the call are MBAs and excited to go into different industries. I'm wondering how you getting your MBA at Wharton kind of influenced your career and your trajectory to where you are now.
Yeah. So admittedly, I'm not sure that when I started my MBA, I dreamed that I will start Minute Media and acquire Sports Illustrated at some point. So you can, and that's actually, I think, a good lesson to take. It's too early for you guys. You're too young to be able to forecast and predict some of these future milestones. What I do remember is that in the first leadership class that we had back in 2003, so I'm quite old, as you can tell, right? So over a couple of decades ago, my first Wharton leadership class, the teacher was asking each and every one of us where we were seeing ourselves a decade or two from when we graduated from business school. And so there were very traditional answers from my friends, and my dream back then was to be the commissioner of the NBA. So I'm probably not going to be the commissioner of the NBA, but I did put my passion first, and I think that's a very interesting takeaway. And I was hoping that at some point I will have the opportunity to work in sports. To me, the other big benefit of the MBA, admittedly, was not necessarily the work I did after school, but rather the network of friends and very, very talented people that have taken my personal experience and growth to the next level throughout the 2 years of living there. And I'm still in very, very close touch with so many. So it's more of the experience and the network and the friendships that to me have been really, really key. I'm not sure I would have gotten to where I am today without that very big milestone in my personal journey.
Oh, that's amazing. I love to hear that. And I guess kind of relatedly off leadership, I'm wondering how your leadership style has grown or changed since you've progressed throughout your career, but now that you are a CEO and managing lots of people.
Yeah. I continue to try and look for ways to evolve and sometimes even change it. So I'm still a young CEO. It's been slightly over a decade, and the company continues to grow and change. So you always have to be on your kind of edge and adapt. Probably the number one thing for us at Minute Media is the fact that it's a very global company. With so many different talents and people from different parts around the world and across different functions, right? So we have content teams, we have sales teams, we have technology teams, we have an office in Israel, we have offices in the UK, in different parts of the US, in Latin America, in Asia. So what I have learned over the years is that the only way for me as a CEO to be able to manage and grow that business is essentially trust and empower many other people to lead. I cannot be everywhere all the time. I really have to trust many, many others and assume that over time, especially over the last several years with COVID, you cannot really, we could not fly for a couple of years. You have to start managing people working from home. So it's that trust and empowerment of more and more leaders that you see very, very occasionally on a regular basis that I think has really affected our culture and allowed so many people from so many different cultures and nationalities and experiences to work together under one roof, one place, and integrate and expand over the years. So that's kind of the leadership style that I was trying to subconsciously and consciously implement within Minute Media over the years.
Amazing. And I guess a follow-up to that, was that trust easy to give out? Because it is kind of your baby and something you started, or what did that look like kind of as your development as a leader?
Yeah. So so I would say it admittedly took me it's easier said than done. It took me several years and so many mistakes along the way. I even had to unfortunately lose one of my founders. I mean, he left the company. So I had that issue as well. So the answer is it took me 4 to 5 years to develop that style and through many mistakes, trial and error, until I've gotten to a stage where I had enough experience to implement that leadership style. And even then, you have to continue to adapt, especially as you acquire, right? You wake up one morning and you acquire 100 people from Sports Illustrated. It does change your culture completely. And you really have to change it as a leader, as a CEO. So that's another thing. If you acquire a lot, that requires changing the culture and the leadership style to adapt to the acquired assets as well.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think that's a great lesson to everyone. You like learn, you fail and you learn, and you become better from that, which is great. I guess you can choose this kind of what direction you want to take from this, but I'm curious, kind of looking back to your younger self, whatever that looks like, what advice would you give to get to where you are now, or would have made the road easier or different?
Yeah. So at least for me specifically, to really, really follow your passion and try to work or even to start a business in a space that you're really, really passionate about. I think it makes the difficult times easier. Yeah, I think that's probably number one. There are many others, but that to me is still number one. I still love it every day, even through the tougher times, because I'm so passionate about sports. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I guess kind of speaking to sports now, especially like with the bite-size kind of minute media that we're in now, what is your favorite sports moment?
Sports moments. So I would say the following, right? So my two favorite sports are NBA and soccer. NBA, I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan, so probably that some of you are too young to remember our last title, but the 2014, we beat Miami Heat after losing in a devastating fashion to them in the finals the year before. So that 2014 finals win of the San Antonio Spurs is my number one NBA moment. And on the soccer front, I had the opportunity to, I think, physically attend the in my view, probably the most amazing soccer game ever, which was the last World Cup final between the kind of France and Argentina, where kind of it was the 3-3 and the penalties, and it was the one game that crowned Messi probably as the best footballer of all time. And really, I had the opportunity to be there on the ground. So realizing in every moment that there has never been and never will be a more amazing football game or a soccer game. So that's probably number one on that front.
Amazing. And then who is your football team?
Arsenal.
Arsenal. Okay. I love it.
It's
I'm a
the best,
Tottenham fan.
it's the best team in the world.
I'm a Tottenham fan. I won't hold that against
you. That's very bad. If I knew before, I would have maybe reconsidered participating in the.
I strategically didn't tell you to make sure you were here. So thank you.
It was a wise decision.
So I guess my last two questions are a fun one. What do you do outside of work?
So I spend a lot of time with my family. I have two boys. And surprisingly, we spend a lot of time around sports. So until a few weeks ago, I've lived in London for over a decade. So we just play a lot of sports, especially soccer. We used to go to watch Arsenal every weekend. I was there a few weeks ago when we beat Tottenham in the derby away. So doing a lot of sports, especially with the family, And I actually love reading a lot as well. So these are probably the two main things.
Amazing. And then I guess last but not least, whether it's related to work or not, what are you most excited for in the next year or so?
It's a very interesting question. So can I just move to back to Israel after 11 and a half years? It's just very, very challenging times for the country. And it's also for me the first time that I see my family, especially my wife and especially my two boys who were born in London, kind of live and experience Israel, which is difficult these days. And the one thing that potentially excites me is to hopefully at some point see the country improves, change for the better, and hopefully the experience on the ground here for myself, for my family, for our team here will get a lot better in the next 12 months. So that's the potential excitement. Remains to be seen, but that's the hope.
Great, thank you. Yossi, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, so definitely thank you very much, Asaf. Was very inspiring and very interesting indeed. I can tell you that I myself support Maccabi Tel Aviv, so maybe not as Arsenal, but we are getting there. So not so much. Yeah, we just lost the first two European League games, but that's fine. So thank you very much, Asaf, for joining us. We super appreciate it. And for everybody else in the call, tune in for the next call we have on Wednesday with Ronen Fire, the new CEO of SolarEdge, and we supposed to have also Lemonade. We need just like to see how we reschedule this one. So Asaf, thank you very much again.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.